scale is a huge issue. And I will say, now back in high school, I invented the 1 to 12 scale, right? It was broken down into 4 sections of 3, right? If you're offended by this, then you just go away, bro. You're going to be offended by half the things I say, okay? But 4 sections of 3. Section 1 is going to be the face, 1 out of 3. Section 2 is going to be the chest, 1 out of 3. Third section, the butt, 1 out of 3. And fourth section, because it does matter, the personality, 1 out of 3. You add them all up, then it's out of 12. Then you judge by that.
If you don't have all of these, you're not the perfect guy. For a woman, there's this perfect man with a grocery list of things which a man needs to have to qualify for her. That list contains 6 feet tall, attractive, 6-pack abs, earns 100k a year, funny, ambitious, confident, brings me food in bed, the list goes on. There's such a long list of qualifications that the guy has to have. But for men, all we want is attractive and available. That's it. What women are effectively saying is my sexuality and agency is worth all of these 436 bullet points, and a man's is worth 2.
Women be out here creating super niggas in their mind. They don't even be looking at the niggas right in front of them. That's the difference between men and women. We see who here.
Right.
Women down here think it's a unicorn nigga with a long dick and a lot of money and a weekend house, and this nigga write poetry and draw, he a thug and he can fight and lift weights and don't eat pork. You crazy? You gonna meet this nigga with a lace front on? Okay, I'm tripping though.
What he said, man?
Man, that nigga, they want that nigga have everything.
I don't consider myself to be a particularly ethical person, but I am fair.
Hey my friends, welcome to the RP Experience. My brothers and sisters, before we begin, hit the like button, and I give you a second to do that. Thank you. And subscribe and share. Thank you very much. Today's video is going to be about something that I don't think no one has ever really covered. Well, not in the space, really. So I'm going to cover it. I have some videos from some other places that that's going to assist me with this, but we're talking about the men's ranking scale from 1 through 10 of women and the women's grocery list. Well, versus the grocery list. Now, I know females never like that ranking thing, but the thing is though, almost every dude does it. Now the thing is, some dudes are really tacky with it, and they'll do it right in front of the girl's face, or if they're with a bunch of guys in like the shower room or like the break room or something, they'll be talking amongst themselves, and it could be women around and they're talking about that or something. I've never done that, but to be honest, it has been times that me and the guy is talking, and usually I don't bring it up, but a guy will bring it up, like, what do you think she is? Or either he'll say what he think she is, and I'll go through my mind and look, and either I'll agree or disagree with him, because that's another thing with that ranking thing. Every man has his own different preference or something. So So even though I don't I feel kind of guilty sometimes with it, but however, like I say, women do it too, and I believe the female is more outspoken with her ranking thing. Women do it, and even ladies do it. Now, the difference is, even though dudes can be brash with like what they think a woman's attractive level is, women, they have a more meticulous way of ranking men, and usually is the grocery list. And the grocery list is certain things that a man has or doesn't has that makes him ideal for her. You know, sometimes her list gets like a little crazy, and I believe every woman has them, but kind of like men with ranking, normally a woman won't tell you to your face what well she won't rank you like that. What she'll tell you is her list of standards of things that she wants and stuff like that, and then technically that is kind of a ranking system, you know. So I want to clear that up, that women do it too. The thing is though, men don't usually call women on that though, you know, and men know this, so that's generally why some of them will try to get what they can get so that they can have better success with women, you know. So that's pretty much cool. Now, the only problem is sometimes when the women do it is that, you know, even if you get older, which I actually think when women get older, usually their grocery list gets bigger. And like you have to know, like when I did the different men, that if your type is a Chad or Tyrone, or you know, or a man with a lot of money and resources or something like that, because obviously when you get older you start thinking more about that to a certain degree. You know, even if you have your own money, you want him to have like money to be able to match yours or be above yours in most cases. You know, men primarily judge women on how they look. Now, like I said before in one of my videos, that, you know, you have men that go definitely by looks, and then you have men that goes by looks and personality, and then you have men that will love women unconditionally. Yes, I did that in Can a Woman Love a Man Unconditionally video. So with that thing near, you know, usually looks is still, for most of us, is still up there. We do take personality into account, you know. It's just that only because of society peer pressure, or either a guy doesn't have too many options, he will settle. And yes, I'm using settle because I always hear females use that word, like don't settle. He will settle for what he can get, and in a lot of cases that may not be the woman that he really wants, you know. So he takes what he can get. So anyway, I had kind of a funny video in the beginning. I'm going to play that again to lighten the mood again, but I'm going to have this this creator I never heard of before, but he's going to show you the 1 through 10 ranking thing, but it's going to be on men, because I know for women this is like really hard to like hear or something like that. So, you know, I don't want to make y'all feel any worse than what y'all already do sometime with y'all anxiety or depression and the constant battles that y'all have to go through each day on trying to, you know, fit some type of beauty standard, and also deal with the obstacles that you usually have to deal with. Just understand, men have obstacles too. We just don't have this one as much. But with this video here, this kind of shows me something of where I would be in this. So let's see.
There are inconsistent differences or jumps between each rating on the 1 to 10 look scale. So for the 1 to 10 look scale that we have here, that everyone is familiar with, in theory, the difference between each number should be the same. So roughly 10% between 1 and 2, 10% between 2 and 3, and so on and so forth. But in reality, I would say the differences between each number look something more like this. So for some numbers, there's no difference between each one, while for other numbers, there's massive differences. To explain this further, the way I see this is that if you're 1 to 3 in looks, then it's pretty much all of the same thing. You're borderline subhuman at this point. 3, 2 and 1 pretty much all mean the same thing, that nobody's going to find you good looking. Then between 3 and 4 there's a little difference. So at this point you're still below average, you're still unattractive. And in fact everyone in this 1 to 4 range is going to be labelled as unattractive. But then the difference between 4 and 5, we have a massive gap. So this is the first rating where you'll step into that average territory. And I would say most people fall into this 5 out of 10 average looking category. These are just your everyday, normal looking people. There's nothing that particularly stands out that's grossly unattractive, but they're not exactly going to be called good looking either. And then between 5 and 6 there's another little gap, so this is just climbing up the average looking scale, and the same goes for the difference between a 6 and a 7. All of these men fall into that average looking, everyday kind of person. And in fact I would say it's around the 6 to 6.5 mark where women start to become attracted to men, and that's where you might find they would start telling you that you have nice features and you're quite good looking. The difference between 7 and 8 however is another massive gap. This is your Chad tier of looks, and then of course once you reach 8 there's not really much room for improvement. 8, 9 and 10 all mean the same thing pretty much, just like 1, 2 and 3. So this is my point, and this is my first criticism of the 1 to 10 scale, that the differences between each number aren't evenly distributed, and in fact they might as well just reduce it to the 3 to 8 scale. Reason number 2 I don't like the 1 to 10 scale, virtue signalling, and this is exactly what it says on the tin. And it's this idea that people, especially women, will say different numbers than to what they are thinking in their minds. And this is usually going to be done in order to be polite and to not hurt anyone's feelings. So to explain my point further, if you're one of these men and you ask a woman, how attractive am I? She will likely say one of these things. There's nothing wrong with you. I have a friend that will find you really attractive, or oh, you're just not my type, and so on and so forth. And as we all know, if a woman says that you're not my type, then that is just code for saying that you're not attractive. It's the politest way of saying that you are below average. So women will say these things, and if you ask them how attractive you are out of 10, they will likely give you a 6 or a 7. So they'll bump you up by a couple of points. Secondly, another point that CBP brought up in one of his recent videos is that women can't lie too much. They can't rate any of these men an 8, 9 or a 10, because otherwise they will know that the woman is lying to them. However, boosting the rating by 2 to 3 points is enough to avoid hurting the man's feelings, but at the same time won't get suspected of lying. So when a woman virtue signals, these are the things that she will say, but on the inside what she'll be thinking is that he's unattractive and he's about 3 to 4 in terms of looks. So this is my second criticism of the 1 to 10 scale. It has this problem of virtue signalling. And if you're watching this video right now and you're not 100% sure just where you fall on the look scale, then I would advise you to go onto this website called PhotoFeeler, and it allows you to upload pictures of yourself to be rated out of 10 by other people. And the way it works is that you have to give votes to get votes. So if you vote on 10 other random people's profiles, then you'll get 10 votes on your profile. And this is good for 2 reasons. Firstly, it's an easy and quick way to get lots of ratings with a high sample size, so you're going to get reliable numbers. And secondly, this idea of virtue signalling is largely removed. The ratings are anonymous, so there is no reason for anyone to lie when given these ratings. And the last point I want to make on this before moving on to the next one is that the reason why people virtue signal, especially women, is because in the prehistoric times, from an evolutionary perspective, it is going to be biologically advantageous for women to virtue signal. She's not going to harshly reject a male member of the tribe, as he might get aggressive, he might harm her, he might threaten her. So instead, for the sake of her own safety, she will advocate for virtue signalling instead. Now I've got two of the reasons out of the way, I'd now like to take this opportunity to ask you to press the like button and leave any thoughts you have so far in the comment section below. Carrying on with the analysis. Number 3, highly relevant contextual info is excluded from the final rating. So in my opinion, when it comes to the 1 to 10 scale, you will get 3 ratings. So obviously the one on the left that I've just spoken about, you'll have your virtual signal rating, and this will be 2 to 3 points higher than your actual face rating. So women might tell this man that he's a 7 out of 10. And as already stated, the main purpose of this is to avoid hurting the man's feelings. The second rating you'll get is your face rating, and this measures your face only. That's the key piece of information, it only measures your facial attractiveness. So this man's actual face rating is a 5 out of 10. And then the third rating is your SMV rating, or what I like to call it is your Tinder rating. So this will factor in things like height.
Wow, he really broke that down. Yes, being honest with myself, I have to put myself in the middle tier and stuff, you know. Fortunately, except for when I was in high school, junior high, in high school, that is when I did used to get my brutal rejections, you know, from the females I was growing up with. And you know, I guess at that time, because I used to have girls either come up to me or either send like their little nieces or cousins or something up to me and tell me like, why are you so ugly? You know, because I used to have acne real bad. It had like bumps all over my face. So I know, just because of the rejection level I used to get at that time, I know I definitely was at that sub tier 1 to 2 or 3 or something like that, you know. But fortunately, I got better looking in a way. Unfortunately, though, I have not reached Chad status, because I would definitely know if I was there. You know, it would be effortless, you know, on getting female attention. So, you know, and that once again shows me, even though women don't really, I mean, like he said in the video, like, women usually go through lengths to not hurt a guy's feelings. So, you know, they may not usually be truthful on what they think of you to a certain degree. So anyway, that was eye-opening. Let him finish this off, and then I have like closing arguments in a way.
So this will factor in things like height. So this man is a 5, but he'll be a 3 out of 10 if he's 5'4" in terms of height. It will factor in the person's build, body, frame. And these things can work both ways. So if this man is over 6 foot and he has a gym body, then he might go up to a 6, maybe even a 7. It will factor in JBW, which I hope everyone knows what I'm referring to there. And that's all I'm going to say on this before I risk YouTube banning me out of existence. It will factor in your location in the world. Men will have varying amounts of SMV depending where they live, and that will show in their Tinder matches. And lastly, arguably the most important one, is age. So this man, facially, he's very attractive, easily a 7 out of 10 I would say. But because of the fact he is old alone, automatically means his SMV is sub 5. Women in the 20 to 29 range won't even have this man's age in their age bracket for their settings. And if he dared approach a young girl in a club, bar or street, then it's going to be considered nothing else but creepy. And this is purely because of the fact he is old. This is what I mean when I say that other relevant pieces of information are left out of the face rating. And this concept doesn't just apply to men, it applies to women as well. So for this woman, you might rate her a 7 or maybe even pushing 8 out of 10 in the face. But as soon as you show the bottom half of the photo and you find out she's a single mother, her SMV automatically drops by 3 points. For all women, as soon as you have a child, your SMV pretty much automatically drops by 3 points. And what's hilarious is that if you go onto any online dating apps, you will see women like this who still show the same standards that they had before they had their child written in their bio. They will still be demanding people on their looks level or above, which is just absurd. No man wants to raise another man's child. It's as simple as that. And if he does, it's because he has no other options, not because he chose to. So this is my third criticism of the 1 to 10 look scale. that there are pretty much 3 different ratings that you will expect to hear, and each of these ratings can be wildly different depending on the circumstance. Reason number 4, subjectivity, and this goes without saying. There's no question that women are going to have disagreements when it comes to rating men. And I would say the biggest disagreement amongst women when it comes to subjectiveness is how masculine they would want their man to be. So if we take a look at this graph, where we have masculinity on the bottom and the 1 to 10 look scale on the y-axis. So the further left you go on the graph, the more feminine you will appear, while the further right on the graph is the more masculine. And both of these 2 men are on either end of the extreme, and because of that they have very low looks ratings. For these men, however, they're higher up on the look scale. So pretty boys are going to be slightly feminised, but they're still very attractive and they're high up on the look scale. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have your gym rats, testosterone junkies, that are a lot more masculine, and they're still fairly high up on the look scale. But the most ideal would be this Chad type, which most women would consider the perfect blend between femininity and masculinity. So the end result will end up looking something like this, our classic bell curve shape, with the ideal amount of masculinity falling somewhere in the middle. However, that said, if a woman has a preference for pretty boys, then she is going to rate this man as the highest. She likes the more feminine type, and she will rate him a 10 out of 10. Meanwhile, the Chad will be only rated an 8. And that's an important point to note, that the Chad will never fall below an 8, irrespective of the woman's preference. So quite clearly, when we put on our bell curve, it's clear to see that the hump has shifted left slightly to favour a more feminine appearance. Meanwhile, if a woman prefers more masculine men, she wants a strong and powerful protector, then she is going to favour this kind of man, and again, the hump is shifted right to favour more masculine men. However, most women, and I would say 90% of women, are going to have a preference that looks something like this. So the Chad in the middle, mostly masculine, but a little bit feminine, is going to be the most attractive. Reason 5, the ratings don't reflect your chances. So an 8 might not seem like much of a difference to a 7. A 7 might not seem like much of a difference to a 6, but the difference is massive. Every point of attractiveness you drop is going to make it exponentially harder to attract women. So much to the point that I would say it's 10 times difference between each rating. And I discussed this in depth in my previous video, so I'm not going to explain it again. However, I'd highly recommend you check this video out after finishing this one. It's a really good video, and the link will definitely be in the description box below. So those are the 5 reasons that I've come up with for why I dislike the 1 to 10 scale. For the last bit of this video, I'm going to explain what I think we should use instead of the 1 to 10 scale. You've probably heard of it before, the 3-tier scale of Chad, Normie and Sub 5. This is what I think we should use in place of the 1 to 10 scale. It makes so much more sense to me, and it's so easy to identify which category you fall in, dependent on the criteria and the treatment you get from other people. So firstly, if you fall into this Chad category, then you pretty much get intimacy on dial-up. If you're wondering where all the Tinder matches are going, this is where they are going. These are the men with all the options. These are the men that women are talking about when they say, oh, this guy I like, he doesn't text me back. And the key piece of treatment that these men will exclusively get as opposed to other tiers is that any negative personality traits will be seen as positives. So any red flags will be brushed aside or ignored, or potentially even seen as positives. So a couple of examples, they're really obvious. So for Chads only, if he is shy, then it will be perceived as cute in the eyes of women. If he is awkward, then it will be considered funny or adorable. Any of his bad jokes, and this is an important one, they will be voluntarily laughed at by women because they want to try to impress him, and so on and so forth. Only Chads get this kind of treatment, and the bottom line to sum up this kind of treatment is that I would say that women break rules for Chads. So the standards and preferences that they usually have, that they usually hold themselves to, they go straight out the window as soon as Chad comes along. Moving on to Normie tier, and when they approach women, their usual response will be a soft rejection. So they will likely get friend-zoned, or a girl will say, oh, my phone's dead, or I'm in a rush to work, whatever. So they'll get these soft, light-hearted rejections. And if you're Normie tier, you can still be successful in attracting women, but you just need a couple of other things to bump yourself up. So that might be superior height, having a gym body, higher status, having good social circles, or sharing a lot of common interests with a woman. Or other things like you're her specific type, you have a lot of talents going for you, you have excellent pickup skills, a bit of luck maybe, and so on and so forth. So I would summarise the treatment that you get in this tier is that you'll have rules made for you. So women will break rules for Chad and they will make rules for you. Lastly, moving on to Sub 5, and this is the point where you will get hard rejections. This is where women will get disgusted and offended if you dare approach them in public. They will call you a creep and tell you to get lost. Obviously a lot of women will still give you soft rejections because they don't want to appear heartless, but generally, you know you're in sub 5 when you get these hard rejections. And the kind of treatment you'll get as sub 5 is that any positives you have will be seen as negatives, and there's loads of examples for this. So if you have confidence as a sub 5, it will be perceived as arrogance. Any kind of intelligence you have is geeky or nerdy. Having a gym body will be considered overcompensating. This is commonly known as gym selling, where a man has a subpar face on a ripped and lean body, and it just doesn't work out, it doesn't look good at all. Lastly, if you try to compliment a woman or be kind to her, then it will be seen as inappropriate or creepy. And I laughed when I first saw this meme, and it pretty much just sums up that last point perfectly. That as a sub 5, any positives you have will be seen as negative. And the bottom line for this category is that you are pretty much just treated as subhuman. People will look down on you and they won't treat you as an equal. So this is what I think we should use instead of the 1 to 10 look scale. This way there is no arguments, it's so easy to identify which category you fall in, and it's based on the behaviour and treatment you receive from other people. Let me know if you have any thoughts in the comment section below.
Alright, so that was eye-opening. Now, as to any women watching this, understand this is how men see you. The same way you look at us on the look scale. Except for, like I said, you don't loosely put it on like 1 through 10 or something like that. But however, though, I guess the way your list goes with like height or muscles or the certain things that you look for in a man, if he checks it off, he already gets boosted up in the rankings, depending on your preference. Now, men are a lot more simple, in how they pretty much rank women. So, and each one does it through a different way. Now, unfortunately, they don't usually put personality in there. Like me, I would put personality in there, and I know in my mind when I'm looking at a woman that I do it somewhat like this guy right here, except for, I even make it a little bit more simpler, but let me show you this.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate women?
I think the 1 to 10 scale is a huge issue. And I will say, now back in high school, I invented the 1 to 12 scale, right? It was broken down into 4 sections of 3, right? If you're offended by this, then you just go away, bro. You're going to be offended by half the things I say, okay? But 4 sections of 3. Section 1 is going to be the face, 1 out of 3. Section 2 is going to be the chest, 1 out of 3. Third section, the butt, 1 out of 3. And fourth section, because it does matter, the personality, 1 out of 3. You add them all up, then it's out of 12. Then you judge by that.
If you don't have all of these, you're not the perfect guy. For a woman, there's this perfect man with a grocery list of things which a man needs to have to qualify for her. That list contains 6 feet tall, attractive, 6-pack abs, earns 100k a year, funny, ambitious, confident, brings me food in bed, the list goes on. There's such a long list of qualifications that the guy has to have. But for men, all we want is attractive and available. That's it. What women are effectively saying is my sexuality and agency is worth all of these 436 bullet points, and a man's is worth 2.
See, and I don't have to add too much to this. This is exactly how I see how some females are, And I've assumed that has to be the females that when they get to that 26 to 35 range or something like that, when they have more of an idea of what they want. But however, though, I guess, they want the guy to be a certain height. They want him to have certain muscles. They want him to be romantic. They want him to have a yacht, or maybe not always a yacht, but however, they want the guy to have all this bunch of stuff. And this is like this one video, like, guy has to have a lot of stuff, especially these days, to get some of the higher tier females, even the ones that's not even higher tier, the ones that think they are higher tier. So that's hilarious, and this is why a lot of times I think females sometimes get played because those guys that's like a Chad or Tyrone, you know, they will smash almost everything that comes their way. Almost everything. I'm assuming they have to have some type of standard, but they'll smash everything coming their way because it's being thrown at them. And however, just because they smash don't mean that they will stay, you know, because I'm pretty sure he has his eye on one particular girl, you know, but just because you happen to cross his path, he'll engage or something. And I think sometimes when a female gets one of those higher tier men, that's when she thinks that she can, always that she can get that type of guy to commit. And then it's kind of like build a guy. Like, you know how they have build a bear? It's like build a guy. Like, you know, and she builds it in her mind. And unfortunately, I hate how society is like, queen, you can have it all, you can have everything, and that's not always true. So I think I'm gonna play one more video. Because like I say, females do the same simpler thing. You know, it's just y'all do it in a different way. You know, and unfortunately we all do it. You know, I would say, don't be brutal about it. Don't straight destroy somebody with it. I guess try to keep that information a little bit more to yourself, but unfortunately we all do it. And we don't have personality too much. See, I have personality in that's in my rank thing. So even if, you know, she hits those physical boxes and then her personality is like trash, then her personality actually makes her physical, for me, go down. Like, you know, I would still find her attractive, but I'd be like, ugh. You know, the only thing I would want to do is, you know, that's the only thing I would want to do. I wouldn't even want to talk to the person, you know, if they're like irritating or so. So anyway, let's watch that one.
Women be out here creating super niggas in their mind. They don't even be looking at the niggas right in front of them. That's the difference between men and women. We see who here.
Right.
Women out here think it's a unicorn nigga with long dick and a lot of money and a weekend house, and this nigga write poetry and draw, and he a thug and fight and lift weights and boy, you crazy. You gonna meet this nigga with a lace front on? Okay, I'm tripping though. What he said, man? Man, that nigga, they want that nigga to have everything.
Okay, so that's it. You know, I hope we have a better understanding of the ranking systems that both genders tend to do, and let's try not to be delusional out there. You know, you are where you are. You know, not everybody's a 10. You know, it's kind of like not everybody's alpha. You know, it's always a tier thing. Now, you can try to delude yourself, but, you know, reality out there, the world is going to give you the reality check. So hopefully this helps my delusional men and women out there, you know. So that's pretty much it. I'll have a new video soon. I may not have as many videos this week, only because I actually had some videos I did last week that fell into this week. So it might be just 2 to 3 this week. So anyway, thanks for coming and have a good night. Okay guys, I'll see you later. Out.
I still wanna run to you. Am I breaking through? Do you feel me too? Pindell made it.